Hey there, Throne Throng! It's Maude giving you the lowdown on the world of Westeros. Today, I'm going to delve into the main religions that you see in this show and why they're actually really important in the Game of Thrones and how it could have a huge impact on Season 6. Here's your guide to knowing about the 4 main religions in Westeros and the houses that support them. Let's start with the oldest and easiest religion, the Old Gods, which were worshipped by the Starks of Winterfell when there were Starks in Winterfell. Ugh. And those in the north, its surroundings both below and beyond the wall. The lands used to be inhabited by the Children of the Forest, who weren't really children at all, but a mysterious non-human race that had worshipped the old gods until they fled to parts unknown some 6,000 years ago. When man conquered the Children of the Forest, they took their lands but adopted their beliefs. I like to think of this religion like the Force. It's living, breathing, and everywhere. The old gods are manifested in the earth and nature, like trees, rocks, and streams. Unlike the other religions, they have no temple, no priests, no names. It's the God's Wood that provides a place of worship for prayer, and many settlements in the north had one nearby where they could pray. And although there are no priests, there are green seers and the Third Eye Raven. They have a connection with nature so deep that it allows them to use the trees to see through space and time, have prophetic dreams, and even transport their spirit into another living creature, like Bran does as a warg. But then the Andals came and ruined everything. I mean, they ended the kingdoms of the first men, and it was out with the old gods and in with the new. Or the Faith of the Seven, whose sigil is the 7-pointed star. They're kind of like the religion of slot machines, everything's 777. This was the main religion adopted by Central Westeros, like the Tullys, Lannisters, Freys, Arryns, practically all of Westeros, except the north. This religion revolves around the 7 gods. Whatever situation you are facing and thus praying about, one of these 7 or new gods would be suitable to help you in your prayers. There's the Father, who represents divine justice and judges the souls of the dead. The Mother, who represents mercy, peace, fertility, and childbirth. The Maiden, which represents purity, innocence, love, and beauty. The Crone, which represents wisdom and foreskin. Sorry, that's foresight. It looks like the former. The Warrior, which represents strength and courage in battle, and the Smith, which represents creation and craftsmanship. So far, that means that 3 of the gods are men and the other 3 are women, which leaves us with the last, the Stranger, which represents death and the unknown. It's genderless and rarely prayed to. They have temples called septs, a 7-sided building with sections dedicated to each god. Now, within the septs are the clergy, called septons for the men and scepters for the women. They have a strong hierarchy within the sept, the high septon being the top in the chain of command, who had the highest amount of power in the kingdom when the Faith Militant held power. Now, this happened prior to the Targaryens ruling, around 250 years before the books take place, who shut down the Faith Militant from enforcing trials, judgment, and punishment over every member of the 7 kingdoms, including the king. They remained out of power until Tommen Lannister, at the request of his mother Cersei, re-invoked the power of the Faith, meaning that the High Sparrow would take the role of High Septon and rule over every member of the lands, including the king. Shit, Cersei, seriously, you created the one thing that could destroy you. Moving on to a seemingly newer religion in Westeros, the Lord of Light, otherwise known as the god R'hllor, the Red God, the Heart of Fire, and the God of Flame and Shadow. It's interesting to note that this religion is practically unheard of in Westeros, but followed instead by the people of Essos and those in the Free Cities. The basics of this religion is that the Lord of Light, or R'hllor, actually consists of 2 gods, although only one ever gets mentioned. Melisandre says that Septons speak of 7 gods, but there are only 2, eternally at war, and that's the God of Light and the God of Darkness, called the Other God. My theory, though, is that there is only one God in the Lord of Light, because where there is light, there is shadow, so think of it like 2 sides of the same coin. My theory could be wrong. All of it's fiction, doesn't matter. R'hllor is the fire god. Its clergy are the fire priests, and their worship and practices revolve around fire. According to them and their followers, there is only one true god though, and because the night is dark and full of terrors, they ask for the Lord to cast his light upon them. But this religion is interesting, because like the old gods who have tapped into nature, the Lord of Light too has some seriously cool magic. These include visions of the future, raising the dead, the ability to cast and manipulate fire, and birthing out a goddamn smoke assassin from the Vjj. They also believe in a messiah called Azor Ahai, a warrior of light with a burning sword whom Melisandre has told the world was Stannis. I don't think he's gonna save you guys now. With this kind of magic, though, comes great sense of skepticism and the fear of the Lord of Light. But why is this religion so frightening? Did you catch the part about the Vjj baby? Anyway, unlike the old gods and the new gods, which coexisted for centuries with people often praying to both of them, the Lord of Light has no interest in other gods, which according to them are lies, false idols, and they must be cast down and burnt. In extreme cases, should believers not turn over to the Lord of Light, they must be burned too. Being able to resurrect people, though, is a pretty big deal. Beric Dondarrion was brought back from the dead 6 times by the Red Priest Thoros of Mir. Oh yeah, and Melisandre speaks as if she's in a cult. Have you noticed that? There are no compromises. She seeks out King's blood and mounts those with it to gain access to it. Is it just me, or do sexy times and religion not feel right when used together? It's a bit weird. Even Gendry kind of picked up on that one too. Plus, using a shadow to assassinate an enemy like Stannis' brother seems like pure evil. Don't even start me on the fact that they're sacrificing children to burn to death. Something's not right. But out of all of the religions, it's this one that is really affecting the outcome of the Game of Thrones. More on that soon. There's one last religion that, for me personally, seems downright awful. The Drowned God in the Iron Isles, the land of the Greyjoys. Look, shout out to them for sticking to their guns with this one and not giving into the worship of the old gods which dominates the north. You know what? You do you. The premise of this religion, though, is all about the sea, which surrounds the Iron Isles. It's where their god lives, and it's where heaven is. The good thing about this, though, is that they don't fear the ocean or drowning. In fact, should you drown in the sea, you'll actually spend eternity with the drowned god underwater to feast on fish and be tended by mermaids forever. The seawater is holy water. In fact, it's a mandatory rite of passage to be drowned for reals and then be brought back with CPR. According to them, this means that whatever is dead may never die. It's kind of clever when you think about it. Frightening, yes, but I do get it. Death is a big part of the drowned god, as is war, fighting, and battle. So much so that it's not until you've killed a man that you yourself can be considered one. They've also coined the iron price, which one should pay instead of gold. Now, the iron price is merely taking the things that you want instead of trading or paying for it. Sure, this may sound like using religion as a means to kill and conquer, but they do take their religion very seriously, including cosmology and mythology. They say that the drowned god under the sea is in constant battle with the storm god who lives in the sky, who sends down thunder and lightning to disrupt ships and sails. There's a lot more coming to the shore of Iron Isles in the upcoming season of Game of Thrones, so we can be sure that we'll hear and see a lot more about the drowned god. Speaking of, let's have a quick assessment of these 4 religions and how this will impact the shape of things to come in Season 6. So warning, there are spoilers and fan theories incoming. The old gods are creating a seer out of Bran. Now, we've seen that he can walk in this upcoming season with these spoilers, and that he will have access to inhabit any living creature, and maybe any part of nature. If he truly becomes a seer, he will never die and will become an old god himself. Being able to walk into animals and creatures means that he could take control of one of Daenerys' dragons. And now that he's spoken with the Children of the Forest, who have faced off with the White Walkers before, he could muster up a force that could pose a real threat to the Long Winter's army. But will they want to help man after previously being conquered by them? Oh. In King's Landing, the faith there is practically imploding. There is way too much righteousness and changing of power, and a king too young to do much about it, who's lost both his mother and his wife to the judgment and ruling of the High Sparrow. You have all these 7 gods, and it seems like none are really helping you much there, buddy. Over to the Lord of Light, resurrection will play a huge role in bringing back key character auteurs. If dead isn't really dead, then the walkers could have met their match, since they don't really die either. You've got to have that dragon glass handy or a lot of fire. Either way, I think we could be seeing a lot more Jon Snow. Is he Azor Ahai, the Messiah wielding the burning sword? Whoa! Also, if it's the Song of Fire and Ice, we've got the ice, hello Long Winter, where's the fire? I think it's with the Lord of Light. And lastly, the drowned god. Well, if it's war that they crave, then it'll be war that they get. The North is a mess with the Boltons locking down Winterfell, so maybe they'll conquer the North, or if they're so good in the sea, maybe they'll travel down south and sort out a few problems there. Who knows? Speculation. They're my theories, but what do you think? Hopefully you now know that religion is quite the game changer here when it comes to Game of Thrones. Now, Season 6 will premiere on HBO on April 24th, and you can be sure that we'll be covering it all. I'm Maude Garrett, and never forget that the night is dark and full of terrors.
And today, let's talk about all the times the Dark Knight and the Man of Steel duked it out. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice hits theaters March 25th, which is right around the corner. And to celebrate, let's take a look at all the times the 2 most popular superheroes went toe-to-toe.